very warm welcome to viewers worldwide of CNN Student News. I'm Carl Azus at the CNN Center. First up this Thursday, a volcanic eruption near Bali. This is a popular resort island in the Pacific Island country of Indonesia. That's key here, because even though this eruption of Mount Rinjani wasn't actually on Bali, the wind blew its volcanic ash toward the island. And even though the eruption wasn't a major threat to people on the ground, it is to planes in the air. Volcanic ash can melt if it's sucked into aircraft engines. It turns into a glass-like substance that can cause them to lose power or break down. So from Tuesday night until today, around 700 flights in the region were canceled, leaving people stranded, either unable to leave Bali or unable to get there. Ice in Antarctica. There's a lot of it. Doesn't sound much like breaking news, but new information suggests it's increasing. And that's puzzling some scientists because research over the last 10 years suggested that Antarctica is losing ice and that the melt is contributing to rising sea levels. Last year, NASA reported that Antarctic sea ice reached a new record size. Now it looks like the continent's ice sheet is growing.
We know that sea levels around the world are rising, and current thinking is that part of that sea level rise comes from melting ice in Antarctica. But one recent study from NASA scientists says that may not be the case. Antarctica is a big place, roughly the size of the US and Mexico combined. So as you might expect, changes in its ice are not uniform across the entire continent. And nearly all scientists agree that ice is being lost from the western part of Antarctica and along its peninsula. On the eastern side, ice is actually being gained. But where this study is different is they measure that gaining of ice along eastern Antarctica is outpacing the loss on the western side. What's behind this addition of ice? It's snowfalls that started becoming heavier around 10,000 years ago. The scientists know this by looking into ice core data. Why is this important? It would mean that Antarctica is not contributing to sea level rise. Bottom line, there is still a lot we need to learn about how Antarctica is reacting to climate change.
9 hours a day. That's how much time on average that American teenagers are spending with electronic media. And this doesn't count any media they might use for school. It's according to a study by a nonprofit group called Common Sense Media. Its CEO says this shows that digital technology is the dominant force in teenagers' lives, that they spend more time with it than anything else, including sleeping. And if you just break out screen time, smartphones, computers, TVs, tablets, teenagers spend more than 6.5 hours a day with it, and younger kids more than 4.5 hours. Media can affect learning. Most of those surveyed said they're texting or listening to music while they're doing homework, and experts say this makes them less effective at their homework. Social media often factors in too, and for many, social media seems to correlate with social standing.
The first headline, the more teens look at social media, the more distressed they can become. Teens check their social media feeds way more than they actually post something. Our experts call it lurking. And the heaviest users in this study told us they check their feeds more than 100 times a day.
Sometimes I'll catch myself going on my social media way too much, about 200 times in a day.
We asked about 20 teens in our study to send us videos responding to questions about the power of social media in their lives.
The most times I check it in a day, I lose track. It's just a need. I need to.
I probably check my phone 90, 100, 110. Even when I'm hanging out with people, I still check my phone a lot because, the one thing I want to do is miss out on something.
I think I've checked it about 100 times at school before. I'll just whip it out in the middle of class and I'm like, wonder what everybody else is up to.
Why check over 100 times a day, even during school? They're really worried about fitting in. 21% say,
I want to make sure no one is saying mean things about me.
36% say,
I want to see if my friends are doing things without me.
And 61% say,
I want to see if my posts are getting likes and comments.
Clinical psychologist Dr. Marion Underwood is the co-author of the study.
It is stressful to constantly be monitoring and worrying about how people might have responded to what you've put online. This is an age group that has a lot of anxiety about where they fit in, how they rank, what their peer status is. So they don't just get online to see how many likes or favorites they got, they're comparing their numbers to other people's numbers.
It's time to take attendance, y'all. On yesterday's transcript page at cnnstudentnews.com, we heard from the Norsemen. North Glen High School is on the roll from North Glen, Colorado. We heard from the Panthers. In Powell, Tennessee, Powell High School is watching. And from the most populated city in the world's most populated country, we're talking about Shanghai, China. Hello to everyone at Shanghai Community International School. Scientists have a new tool that could let them alter our genes in a relatively quick and efficient way. In biology, we learn that genes made from DNA determine our looks, our height, how we laugh, and what diseases we may be prone to. A new engineering technique called CRISPR, C-R-I-S-P-R, could give researchers the power to edit DNA, for better or for worse.
Your body contains 37.2 trillion cells, and within each is a copy of a code consisting of more than 20,000 genes and billions of strands of DNA. This code is your genome, and it determines everything that makes you, you. What if you could modify that code? Bring back extinct species, eliminate hereditary diseases. That is precisely what molecular engineers and geneticists around the world are working on.
Genes are what we get, and we're stuck with them, and the environment is the only thing we can change, and there's kind of a limit to how much we can do. But now if we can change our genes too, we're really in much closer to total control of our biology and physiology.
George Church is one of many using a revolutionary gene editing technique called CRISPR-Cas9, which allows you to modify DNA sequences.
CRISPR is a way that you can design and target a particular part of your genome and change it to something else. Or you can delete a gene. You can make all sorts of edits very precisely.
CRISPR is kind of like having the find, delete, replace function for DNA. No one actually invented the process. It happens naturally. Scientists discovered that bacteria alter their DNA to defend against viruses, essentially storing part of a virus so they can identify, target, and attack the virus if it comes back. Researchers realized the tools bacteria used to do this were Cas proteins, nature's genetic scissors. Geneticists are now using these proteins to make their own targeted changes to DNA.
This can be used in agriculture, where you can change any plant or animal. It can be used to eliminate invasive species. What's most exciting about CRISPR is our ability to alter long-standing epidemics like malaria and HIV.
And that could potentially save millions of lives. But CRISPR is not without controversy. Consider what you can do with a person's DNA. This past year, for the first time, scientists in China used CRISPR in an unsuccessful attempt to edit the genomes of human embryos.
People fear CRISPR could lead to designer babies. How do we prevent that from happening?
We shouldn't be playing, we should be engineering, and I think that's what we are doing.
Where do you think the moral and ethical boundary is?
Safety. I think safety is number one. Just like any new technology or new drug, we should try to make it as safe as possible.
At the intersection of fascinating and disgusting is this. It's a wall of gum. Once listed as one of the germiest attractions in the world, it's located in Seattle, Washington's Pike Place Market. Legend has it that folks going to the theater there in the 1990s decided it'd be better to stick their gum on this brick wall than under their seats. 20 years and an estimated 1 million pieces later, it's spread well beyond the original wall, so officials are spending about $4,000 to get it steam cleaned. They do expect the gummy tradition to continue, just on a clean slate. Plans for how to do the job are just brick gumming. It'll have to be done piece by piece, brick by brick, gritting your teeth and hoping you don't get stuck. And while we could sit and jaw about this all day, we've already gummed up the last part of our show and we don't have any more time to stick around. I'm Carl Azus for CNN Student Choose.